Hey YouTube, this is Travis with Nostalgic Duelist. I'm actually here to do my deck review on my light deck. Zach really, out of all the decks that he doesn't like in my whole series of I guess 6 decks, he doesn't really like this deck and or my fire deck for some reason. I don't know what it is, but nonetheless, I'm gonna go ahead and give you this nice lovely deck review on this deck. Personally, I used to say that my dragon deck was my most spent time to make, but I don't know if I clarified it in that video, but this is actually probably my most spent time in this deck, and you would probably see why. But first things first, let's go ahead and start with the very bottom of this deck, with the spell cards, or magic cards. I still prefer if they called it magic cards, but hey, I guess times have changed, So then we start our lovely adventure here with my deck review with Burden of the Mighty spell card. Zach gave me this card a while back, and to his disadvantage, even though he has one, like he has a couple of his own, he gave me this one, and it proved to be quite the stopper on some of his strategies, because of the fact that with each level, like it loses 100 attack for its own level. So if it's like level 8 or level 6, it will lose 100 times that level. So yeah, if it's like a level 6 monster, it loses 600 attack. So it's a pretty cool card. And this one, very nostalgic card, and it goes way back. Tribute of the Doom. As you see, yeah, it goes back because this was a rare, as everyone calls it nowadays. And it's a very decent card. You just discard one card and you can get rid of practically just any monster one monster on the field. So it could be any monster and it will be destroyed. And the most infamous card out of all of Yu-Gi-Oh, other than of course Kuriboh and Dark Magician and Blue Eyes, is the famous Monster Reborn, where you could practically just special summon any monster from any graveyard, even if it's your own or your opponent's. Also, another card that Zach gave me was Air Traffic Control. It's a pretty cool card because they can come in handy a lot. As long as they have 3, if your opponent has controls 3 or more monsters on the field, they can't really declare an attack. So it could be monsters, any monster. And it really helps a lot. It's kind of like your permanent Swords of Revealing Light, let's just say. Lightning Vortex, another very nostalgic card. Probably just as good as Raigeki, if not a little bit... Well, it's not as good as Raigeki, but it still does the same thing. Except the only exception between the two is that you have to discard one card to destroy all face-up monsters on your opponent's side of the field. But it's still a pretty good card. As that calls MST, I will call Mystical Space Typhoon. It's a very good card. It's nice to either get out of a tough situation or have the upper hand. Mystical Space Typhoon is just a quick play card. Quick play magic card, as you can see right there. Magic. Just wanted to clarify that they still exist out there, buddy. And yep, as we can see, it automatically changed. I do have about 2 or 3 copies of this in here because it's really cool. And it's good to have, like I said before, just in case if you're in a jiffy. And my next card here is called Photon Lead. This is actually pretty cool. It's an easy way for me to double summon, as some might say. If I have like a special summon 1 level 4 or lower light monster on the field, so I can pretty much just normal summon, and from that point, then I can just pretty much summon again with this card. So it's a pretty good card. It's an easy way to get monsters, and it can be an easy way to get the upper hand in duels. So now we move on to our next part of the group, and it's all trap cards. I love that card. I tell you guys, if I had that card, I would put it on my favorite card series, God Card Edition. Like that's gonna ever happen. But anyways, now we move on to our trap cards, and now we have the Raigeki Break, which is a very old card as well. And what that pretty much does is, it's pretty much easy. It destroys any monster card in the field, or any one monster on the field. All you have to do is just discard one card to do so. And as you can see, I'm flipping them down so that we can already see that we went over it. Alright, my next card is a very nostalgic card. It's called Magic Jammer. It's a pretty good card. It's pretty much like the Spell card. You can just get rid of one card from your hand, and you can get rid of the Magic card. It's nice, and it's a counter trap card, so it really helps a lot. Like Mystical Space Typhoon, Dust Tornado is just the same exact thing, except it's a trap version. Pretty much destroys any card, any magic or trap on the field, as long as it's not activated. If the card is activated, it cannot be... Technically, you can use this to destroy it, but it will not destroy the effect of that card. So we have to really be careful. It's really good to just wish away all the face down cards. As you can see, I have probably more than one. And the next card I have is called the Haunted. It's a pretty good trap card. And all it does is just brings back one monster and it leaves it on the field. So as you can see, it is a permanent trap card. So you don't have to worry about it leaving the next turn or anything like that. But if that monster was to get destroyed or summoned or tribute summoned, then it will be destroyed. Trap Pole is probably the one more common trap cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Pretty much if a monster is normal summoned or flip summoned, excluding special summoned, but if it is normal summoned or flip summoned, tribute summoned, and or anything else related to that, then if it's 1,000 points or more, it's automatically destroyed. Said and done. So you can see I have more than one as well. I was actually contemplating on my favorite card series whether to put this card or another card that I have on there, Guardian Angel Joan, and turns out I decided to do Guardian Angel for a reason. You'll find out in the video. But Waboku is a very, very nostalgic card, and it's a very extremely good card. It's a trap version of Kuribo. That's all I have to say. If you use this card, you're pretty much protected for the rest of that turn. Alright, it's cool. Good. It's a good thing I have this card underneath. Luminize. It's a very interesting card, per se. I don't know if you want to have this entirely in your deck, but it's actually a very good card, and it's a really good card with Counterforce. I'll tell you more about that once I'm done explaining this one. What Luminize does is when the monster is declaring the attack, and he's going to go in for the attack on the card, you could pretty much just target one monster on your side of the field, even if it's the target itself, as in like the prey, not the predator, and you could target the attacking monster. You'll be able to negate that attack, and you can add a face-up light monster that you control will gain the attack equal to that target's attack until the end phase, pretty much saying that it will inevitably negate the attack. It won't destroy either monster. It won't destroy either monsters. It will just do a copycat. It'll copy the stats of that monster that's attacking. Sorry about that, guys. It'll copy the stats of the monster it's attacking, and it will pretty much end that turn for that monster. But now it's time to go to Counterforce, which is the reason why I was likely that love that how it came to play. That with Counterforce, it's actually a pretty good trap card. It only works when a monster's attack is negated. If it's negated, the targeted face-up attack position monster, you can actually inflict damage to your opponent equal to the difference between the two monsters. In other words, saying that I could have done this card, I can easily stop that, and then whatever damage I would have taken if I didn't activate that, now is going to go to the opponent instead of you. So it's a really good trap card, but like Luminize, it's a very tricky card as well. Impenetrable Attack is, well, there's nothing really much to say about this. You can either target a monster on the field and it pretty much becomes invincible for that turn, or you can just take no battle damage during the phase. So it's either a Waboku or an invincibility card in a way. Thunder Ruler is a very nostalgic card. It's pretty much like Threatening Roar. Oh, hey, look at that. I was just about to say that card. These two cards are just practically the same. I'll just get this over with. What these two cards do, they pretty much just stall the turn. They stall that person. They cannot attack for the turn. So they'll only be able to go through the draw phase, standby phase, main phase 1, 2, and then end. They can't really attack at all. So, pretty much those two cards out of the way. Cool. Draining, okay, let me just go ahead and I'll just do this at the same time. Draining Shield and Ordeal the Traveler. Perhaps this is why Zach hates this deck a lot. And it is because of this card. Yeah, that card too, but more likely Ordeal the Traveler. Let me get back to that. What Draining Shield does, it pretty much protects your monster, and whatever damage you would get, it would increase your life points. So in a way, it's another Guardian Angel Joanne, except it pretty much protects you. It's a pretty good card. I like it. It's always good to have in your deck. Just in case you don't lose or anything like that. Yeah. Well, anyways, you can go ahead and here's Ordeal the Traveler. Probably the reason why he hates this deck, along with some other cards as well, but I'll get to that soon. But the reason why he doesn't like this card too much is because of its effect. Ordeal the Traveler is one of those turn-by-turn cards. It's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like the Fairy Box. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's kind of like that, the Fairy Box, where you can, it looks like pretty much like a little, it's like a big box, so it's kind of like those whack-a-mole type of things. And it's a very interesting card. What Ordeal the Traveler does, it pretty much, like, for any monster on your opponent's side of the field that declares any attack whatsoever, you take the cards in your hand and they pretty much become a lottery system. He has to guess the type of card that's in your hand. Once he chooses that one card, like let's say out of this card and like these three cards, if they were, say, face down, and I do this, and I pretty much like blah 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 blah, shuffle, 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 shuffle. Okay. And he says, oh, I want to pick this card. He has to guess that card. If he says like magic card, in this case, oh look, it is. Magic and spell, all the same thing. Don't get critical with me. Or very analytical. They're all the same card. The blue card. I'm just going to say that. Let's say that. The blue card. In this case, same spell. If he got it right, which in this case I did, that monster entailed either would be destroyed or however the case would be. But like, let's say he got this card and he said spell, then that attack will be canceled. Also is a really good reason why it would be good to have this card as well, because it would also work with Counter Force. And it would work practically just any turn. So in any case, that's actually probably the better example out of the other one, because of the fact that counterattack only works when the monster's attack is negated. Therefore, when Ordeal the Traveler is on the field, it has a chance, and it depends on how many cards in your hand. If you have 3 cards, it's 1 in 3 chances. So your opponent has a fairly medium chance. If it's a 33% chance, it's not exactly low, it's a medium chance. If it's anything like a Graceful Charity, Graceful Dice, Skull Dice, anything like that, that is the only time you can consider it to be a low chance. But otherwise, it's a pretty fair chance of getting any of those cards. Like if you had 5 cards in your hand, yeah, they might have a low chance, because the chances of actually getting the card they call for, it's not exactly there. But it can also be a high chance too, because of the fact that if it's a monster card, chances are that person is going to have monster cards in its hands that he cannot summon. Therefore, it will cause him to have that monster destroyed. Now moving to the big stack of monster cards. I'm not going to show you the front card yet, because that would be the last card. But what I can do is I'll show you based on level. I'm going to go ahead and I'll set this up. Disregard the top card of each of these levels, because I will go over each and every one of them. And the funny thing is, I'm surprised that I actually have just 3 types of, or 4 whole level types. So now, as we can go on, as you can see, I have all the different levels. But we can go up here to the level 3. I have the Light Hex Sealed Fusion. This is actually cool. I have 3 of these for a very specific reason. And you will understand why I have these. But these will act as fusion material monsters. So let's say if you don't have a card, like if you don't have his full fusion in the deck, or you haven't drawn it yet, you can use this card in replace. So it's a substitute card. It's pretty good. It has decent stats. 1,000 attack, 16 defense is pretty decent actually for a card like this, because these are, as you call, throwaway cards or junk cards. And with junk cards, they should be weak, but this one's fairly decent. Since I have 3 of these, it really makes it a lot easier for this deck to get the cards I need out. So now, for the reason why I said the Light Hex Sealed Fusion card would be really good is because of this reason. It's for this reason and this reason only. For the V, W, X, Y, and Z cards. Now going over them individually will be the fun part here. One, because this deck over here doesn't want to obey me. V Tiger Jet's a very decent card. It's a level 4. It's also good if you're interested in making this deck like an XYZ deck, you can go ahead and do so. It's really easy to get cards out. It has nice defense. It has a 1800 defense, 1600 attack. Overall, it's a decent card. And like I said before, like the Light Hex card, it's a really good way to get it out, get any certain monsters out. So now, moving on. Actually, yeah, no, moving on. W-Wing Catapult. Now this is a level, it is a level 4 obviously, as you can see. It is part of the, I guess, tradition of this alphabetical fusion. But unlike the others, it's actually a union card. And I don't want to go into too much into detail, but it can equip to V Tiger Jet. You can go into V Tiger Jet, and it will basically just equip the monster by 400 points. So it only does a little bit of a boost, not too much. And it can be its own monster. I think that's pretty cool about Union monsters, is that they can technically fuse with the monster as an equip card, but at the same time they don't actually fuse with the monster. So I wonder, can you XYZ with unions? And how many XYZ materials would you have? Questions. If you want to, you can go ahead and put in the comments below about the answer to that. I wonder about that. Now that I see it with union cards and XYZ materials. But anyways, moving on. Yeah, it has decent stats. It has 1300 attack and 1500 defense. Probably the most common card that everybody's heard of in the Yu-Gi-Oh world is X Cannon Head. Seto Kaiba actually had it in the series. He's called Seto Kaiba, but in the manga and comic, he's really called Kaiba. Because I guess according to Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a difference between the two. They're pretty much the same people, same person, but regardless, he had X Cannon Head, Y Dragon Head, and Z Metal Tank back in the day. So if anything, these were actually new ideas back then with its fusion XYZ Dragon Cannon, which is a beast card, let me tell you. It is an incredibly beast card. But X Cannon Head, again, very good for XYZ summonings. If you don't have the other cards for it, then it's really good for that. Has decent attack, decent defense. It's good, and it's an easy way to get one of the two fusions. I'll go into more in detail in just a moment with that. Y Dragon Head, again, like before, it is a union card, with the exception that it can actually go with either of these cards, if I'm correct, with Z Metal Tank and or X Cannon Head. Let me just check that for you. Nope, it actually goes to X Cannon Head. Sorry about that. It can only go to X Cannon Head, but you know it is pretty good, and it increases by 400 points. That's a nice thing. It's pretty cool, and it has very decent stats. It has 1500 attack, 16 defense. It's pretty cool. Nice light monster, as you probably noticed. But it's a nice, cool looking card. If this was probably a rare or holographic or secret, this would probably look beast. But anyways, now moving on to the final of its collection. And this card, the Metal Tank, can actually, it's a union monster that can go with both X and Y. And or Y, per se. Unlike the others, this is actually not that great. W is the same. W Wing Catapult is kind of like the same thing. It's not that great. It has only 15 and 13. The reason why I said Y was good when that with 15 and 16 is because 16, that might give you an upper hand at one point of the game. So, it's good. I like it. And it completes the series too. Say if I don't have any of these cards, like if I had just had this in my hand and I had like 2 of these, I'll have these 2 get destroyed first, and then of course while this is on the field, I can have this get destroyed, and then all this can go to the graveyard or be banished at the same time. And I'll tell you later about those summonings. I'm probably just getting confused and tripping over words, so sorry about that if you don't understand what I'm saying. Alright, now this I actually had in my sell pile of Yu-Gi-Oh cards because I had found no use for the years to come. For years to pass, I have found no use for it. So I decided, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to junk it. It has good stats, 16, 15. They're both level 4s. Well, I hope so. And light monsters. But now that I actually have its brother card, or father card per se, I don't know how you want to say it or word it. Now that I have the evolution card of this actually proves to be very useful for this deck. Especially since I added it. It's called the Creator Incarnate, and what it can do is, when I have the Creator in my hand, I can actually use this as its tribute and special summon it. So I can pretty much bypass the 3 cards and only use 1 for this. This kind of like acts like that Cotton card from the zombie deck, and that fabled or the Kaiser Seahorse, yeah, and the Kaiser Seahorse from Kaiba's special edition deck, I guess. Not his original, the next one that came out. It was kind of like with Yugi's, how he had the Dark Magician, and then he had the Blackluster Soldier, the original one. It was just like that. They kind of act like a double summon or a triple summon in this case, since it's since it is an 8-star card for the creator. But these cards, nonetheless, are very good, and the reason why I have 2 is so I can guarantee that summon. Alright, I'm just going to go over these all together. These 3 cards. The only reason why I have them, well, 2 of them are very nostalgic. Actually, now all 3 of them are nostalgic. But it's because of their defense. They all have the same defense. They all have 2,000 defense. It's a pretty decent card. Explaining the fact that now most cards are now 2,000 with 4 stars. The Royal Magical Library, the effect of that says each time your opponent activates a spell card, you can put a spell counter on it. The max is 3. You can remove that spell counter and draw a card from the deck. From your deck, not his deck. Or the other way around. It's just your deck you get to draw it, but he'll have to activate spell card. So it's a stackable card as you can say. So it's kind of like its own XYZ, except he has counters on him. It's kind of like another card that I have in my water deck. I'll do that later, or I might actually do that as my next deck next time. Alright, let me see. Do I have the card here? Okay, I don't have any of that. Alright, the Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. I'm going to be doing a review on my warrior deck, and here's the reason why I don't have it in my warrior deck, and I have it in this one. Not because it's light, not because it's 4 stars, not because it's 18 and 1,000. It's because of the effect of the card is that it pretty much destroys any face-up defense monster. So it's practically an impenetrable card in the sense of anything defending will automatically be destroyed. And you're pretty much guaranteed 0 life point damage in return. So like let's say you had a card that had, let me try searching a card in here that has high defense. Or at least higher defense than that. Alright, let's say we had this card right here. You already seen the card. And it has, as you can see, has 2100 defense. Well, I can use this card and I can attack it and it would be destroyed and I will get nothing for damage because of the fact that its effect protects me from such application of damage. So it's a really good card in that sense. And the warrior card, it's not going to really be that useful, you'll see. DD Warrior Lady is an extremely good card. It does not matter. Even though it has weak attack, or decent attack and defense, it's still, nonetheless, it's still a fairly, very good card. That's why, yeah, when I say fairly, very, it's because of the fact, yeah, it's a fair card. This is a realistic card. As you can see, it also went through the tests of time. But it is a very good card because the effect of the card is that you can either attack, but if the monster is stronger than yours, you can attack that card knowing it will be destroyed, but in return you can banish this card, and that monster will be banished as well. It's a very, very good card. I still wish I had Winged Dragon of Rome. Alright, going to these two. I have the third one somewhere. I gotta find it, but I'm not gonna add it for good reasons. One, Shining Angel is not a very strong card. As you can see, it's 14 and 8. It's a very weak card. Well, it's weak, not very weak. And the effect is the only reason why I have it in here. Because of the fact that if it's destroyed, kind of like Witch of the Black Forest or Sangin or any card like that, I can get any monster, or even Masked Dragon. I can get any monster as long as it's, well, I can special summon one light monster. As long as it has attack of 1500 or less, I can put it up and attack from the deck. So, it's a very good card in that sense, but nonetheless, it's only good for getting cards out. And if you choose to XYZ summon with it, that would be pretty good too. Alright, the main reason why, well, one of the main reasons, I already showed you the other one was Ordeal of the Traveler, and these two cards. Mirage Dragon, or Mirage, or My Rage Dragon. Mirage Dragon, it's a very good card. I can't even say it's decent. I'd say it's a very good card. Even though the stats pretty much suck for like defense and attack, but nonetheless, it's still a very, very good card. Once this card's summoned on the field, your uses of traps are diminished. You can't use any traps at all, except for the one, well, no, you can't use any. Not even ones that are already activated. They're pretty much all pretty much like dispelled or deactivated for the whole remainder of the duel, which is a extremely, extremely upside to any duel. It's for the ability for opponents not to use traps. And the best thing about it is, only your opponents cannot use traps. You can use traps and protect these cards as much as you want, so that's a very good effect. Now for my level 7 cards, I have these three. Now, granted, these are newer generation cards, but they are very fashionable or fashionably good cards. Two of them are rare, so that's why you probably can't see the name. There you go. Light Ray Diablos and Light Ray Delius. Anyways, they are pretty decent attacks, decent defense, very expected for these cards. But these cards are actually pretty good because you can special summon these cards with monsters from your graveyard. So like for this card, as long as you have 4 monsters in your graveyard, light monsters, then you can summon this card immediately. So you can do like a summon. You can even use that one card that I had, the Photon Lead, to summon again. And if you had like 4 light monsters, you could do even a third summon, and you could pretty much probably dominate that duel. But with this card, it's pretty beast because it says once per turn, you can target a field spell card and 2 other cards on the field and destroy them. So you can actually get rid of 3 cards. 3 magic and or trap cards. That is beast. And guess what? It's a once per turn ability. Sorry if I'm shaking it so much. It's a once per turn ability. So you can guarantee that your monsters will be safe if you play your cards right. Ironic. But anyways, with the Light Ray Diablos cards, same thing with the exception of Asby 5 or more. The same thing with Light Ray Deadliest. If you had a card, summoned, or summon Photon Leads, and then summon that, and then you had this summon. Let's say you had like 8 light cards in the graveyard. Summon, and summon. So you have a full field of all cards on the field. 3 of them which can protect those monsters on the field. And what's really good is that these two effects, well, even though the same, the effects of these two monsters are extremely thumbs up approval. My thumbs up approval. That these cards, all you have to do is just banish a light monster, which is the reason why you can get rid of those angel cards. When you banish the one light monster, you can actually take a card on the field. You can reveal everyone. You can target one set card your opponent controls. You can reveal that target, then you can return it to either the top or the bottom of their deck. It's a really good way to either lessen their chances of victory or increase your chance for strategic overthrow, or strategic domination, however you want to call it. But now, the last of the levels is our level 8s. I'm going to start with this card first because I'm actually going to go down. I'm not going to start from the top, I'm going to actually start from the bottom. And I'm going to tell you why. Or show you why, per se. This card is a very good card. It actually works well with the Guardian Angel Joan. Has nothing to do with strategy or partner abilities, no helping hand thing. But it actually, the Ancient Crimson 8 is a very good card because when a monster you control, gets destroyed, you've actually gained 1,000 light points. That's pretty beast. And it has 2,600 and 1,800. These stats are good for this card. Granted, it's a level 8 card and you have to get rid of about 3 monsters. But nonetheless, or 2, I don't know anymore. But 3, I say 3, because that's how I considered it to be. But you will pretty much be guaranteed light point recovery every turn. Every other turn. Yeah, every other turn. But this card is pretty good. It can destroy monsters at the same time. Like every card in Yu-Gi-Oh, you have to protect it and or beef it with a buffer card and or a protecting card. When I say protecting, I mean like cards that will keep it from getting destroyed, cards that will bring it back if it was to be destroyed, or cards that pretty much make it invincible for a turn or two. Leaving that set to be, now it's going to be my next card. I love this card with a passion, and it's Guardian Angel Joan. I say Joan, I don't know if it's Joanne, Joan. I think it's Joan, but I'm going to say Joan. I don't know why, I just say it. But anyways, Guardian Angel Joan. It's a very beast card. Like I said with the Ancient Crimson Ape, this card is a beast ability. Unlike the Ancient Crimson Ape, which when monsters are destroyed, you gain life points. But with this card, when you destroy monsters, you gain life points. And you actually gain the attack. But if it's anything like a Kuribo, and you destroy the Kuribo on the field, it's not much you gain. But if you can destroy like a Dark Magician, or Blue Eyes, or even like a Dragon Master Knight, or Dragon Master Rider, that card has 5,000 attack. If you can actually buff this card up to pass that, then holy crap, that's 5,000 points you get in light points that you will gain. The card is an amazing card. If you can get this card, if you can manage to get this card in the field, that is. Just like the Ancient Crimson Ape. If you can manage to get the card in the field, then it's a really good thing. And it can possibly change the entire duel. When I mean the entire duel, I mean like you could be losing, but if you have this card out, and you just do a few monsters at a time, and you manage to protect both of the cards, for that remainder of that few turns, you can actually regain all the life points you lost and actually probably be ahead because these monsters are very good. It has 2000 attack and 2000 defense. It's a very, very good card. I love it. It's personal. It's under my favorite. I don't know about top favorite, but it's under my favorite. Now, for the moment, the reason why I said I was going to do everything backwards this time for my level 8 is because of this card. Do you remember when I said the Creator Incarnate? Well, this is the reason why. The Creator itself. It's a very, very good card. The defense is unbelievable. It is a Blue Eyes for defense and a Gaia the Fierce Knight, I think, for attack. But it's not meant for attack, as we can see. The Creator has a beast ability. It is a beast card, and as you can also see, it's a limited edition, and it's, let me see, and it is a secret rare. I don't think you can see through this, but it is a secret rare card, or ultra rare. I don't know, but nonetheless, it's still a very good card. It works perfect. It would work perfectly with this light deck because this card's abilities that I can pretty much discard, or I can select a monster from the graveyard. I can send one card from my hand, or in this case, your hand, to the graveyard, and you can special summon the monster that you selected, of course. The monster you chose, it can go back on the field. You can only use this effect, though, once per turn, so be careful. And be careful of the card that you pick up from your graveyard. This card cannot be special summoned from the graveyard. So if this card was to be destroyed, you cannot use its effect on itself. Hence, if you have two creators, one creator cannot revive the other. Because if anything, if that was the case, then chances are this card would probably be banned if you can do that. Because that's, in other words, that is a paradox. That would be an awesome strategy, but a paradox strategy does not work in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or should I say, it doesn't work very well in Yu-Gi-Oh! What you can do with this card is, if you had these two cards destroyed, you can use its effect once per turn. So let's say you want to bring this card back, bring it back. It's strong enough to survive a turn or two, depending on the turnout of that duel, that moment, and you can bring this back the very next turn. Therefore, you're loaded with these three cards: high defense, high attack, good ability. Both good abilities, very good in recovering. It is pretty much your permanent monster reborn each and every turn, with the exception that you have to get rid of a card. Otherwise, that concludes the deck itself, but I do have some extra cards that will complete the deck. I pretty much complete this deck, and they are my fusion cards. I'm going to start with, again, like the Creator, from the very bottom. I'm going to do this, a nice lovely card, and I accidentally got doubles of this one time when going with Zach to I guess it was, at the time, it was a card shop. It was nice, I like it. I plan on going next time, but man, this card is okay. It's called VW Tiger Catapult. You can do this. There are plenty of variations of cards. There's one for XY, XZ, YZ. There's so many variations. I don't know. I think this might be like the family of cards that has like the most variations of fusions that you have. Probably. And then this one card that he does one of the many cards he doesn't like either is XYZ Dragon Cannon. This is something that Kaiba did have in the original series. And this card is a beast card. It has good stats. And the ability of the card is I can discard a card from my hand, and I can return any card by discarding one card from your hand. Sorry about that, guys. By discarding one card from your hand, you can destroy one of your opponent's cards on their side of the field. One card from their side of the field. That is a pretty beast ability. And let me tell you, that's an easy dual changer. Another one that's a really good dual changer is this card right here. VWXYZ Dragon Catapulter. My cousin accidentally gave this to me, traded it, and didn't know the velocity of he didn't know the magnitude of this card. That's the word I'm looking for. The magnitude, because it has a blue eye stat for attack, and it has an extremely good Armed Dragon level 7 for defense. But this card is a beast card. Once it's on the field, once per turn, I can remove from play one card from the opponent's side of the field. When this card attacks, you can change the battle position of the attack target monster. And if it's a flip card, it's automatically not activated. So it's a really good way to protect your cards as well. This card is really good. I'm not very sure. You can also put in the descriptions below if you can bring back these kind of cards. They say they can only be summoned through the material, but it doesn't say in no other way, type of thing. It just says this is the way to summon it, so it's not the way to revive it. So maybe I can use like a Monster Reborn or something, or even the creator itself to revive it. I don't know. But that completes my whole light deck. This is Travis, and I am part of this lovely group called Nostalgic Duelists, where we try to reanimate the past and make it part of the future. This is Travis. Have a nice day, guys. Signing out.